So I finally caught this little guy. He was very smart. Actually, he's a little bigger than the last three that I caught. Once I get him out and release him and get back to the house, I'll show you the modifications that I had to make to catch him, because like I said, he was pretty smart. It was pretty difficult to catch. It took me several attempts to get him. He's not very happy. I think he's been up all night. Hasn't shown any real hostility yet, and he's probably going to go a little crazy when I put him in the back of the truck. Yeah, so I got him out here in the light. It's still real early in the morning. Give you a little better look at him. He's actually been pretty calm. He was making a lot of racket. I actually caught him in the garage. He was coming in and stealing the cat's canned food, and he was just picking up the food with his mouth and hauling off like a little bandit. Hey, little guy. You ready to get out of there? So it doesn't look like he did too much damage to the trap. There's a piece of rope in there that I'd actually tied the cage to a cinder block. If you watched my last video where I caught the other three several months ago, the raccoons were strong enough to drag the cage probably, I don't know, 15, 20 feet from where I had it, and I had to secure it to the railing on my back porch. He somehow, I haven't pulled it out to really examine it yet, but it looks like he's chewed it up pretty good, and he was somehow able to bring the entire rope that was tied to a cinder block that he couldn't reach, and was able to get it inside the cage. And unfortunately I didn't have the camera up when we caught him, so I don't know exactly how he did that, but like I said before, he's pretty crafty. I'm gonna pull the can out, and the food can, and kind of show you what I did to catch him. He was a pretty elusive. Before I saw him and realized, you know, how big he was, I wasn't sure if he was large enough that he could just lean over the panel that causes the trap to snap without touching it, or if he just wasn't heavy enough. In the video that you've seen already, you know, he looks kind of small, but in reality, he was pretty big. He just looks kind of small based on how close I am to him, and you really can't tell how large the cage is. But I'll get this stuff pulled out and I'll kind of show you how I did it. So after I figured out, you know, how he was, or what he was doing as far as stealing the entire can of cat food as opposed to just sitting here and eating and leaving, I devised a little plan where I took an empty cat food can, I drilled a couple holes in it and tied a fairly decent weight nylon cord to it full of cat food, and I put it in the back of the trap, and I got it as far close to the back of the rear of the trap as I could. And I kind of used this, it's not really a pulley system, but I had to weave the cable so that when the raccoon pulled the food this way, if he wasn't standing on the flap there at the bottom, that it would still cause the trap to go down. So basically, I put the food in the can, pushed it as far as I could to the back, and I ran the cord out the bottom of the trap, being sure that it caught on this, I don't know if you can see it here with the light, but if you're looking at it from up here, make sure that I caught one of these hooks on the very bottom and ran it in this direction, so that when he pulled on it, it would actually, the other end of the rope or string would be tied to this. And like I said, when he pulled it this way, it ensured that this got pulled and it caused the trap to snap. So that's really all there was to it. You saw in the very first video, he was basically coming in, getting a drink of water. They have to have water when they eat, and he was able to just put the whole can in his mouth and just walk out the door with it. We lost 3 or 4 cans of cat food before I finally caught him. But he, much like, you know, all the raccoons, they're very, very resourceful. Another thing that I did, and if you saw the last video I did, I ended up putting these boards around it on the back where the bait was going to be, because some of the raccoons were small enough that they could just stick their arms through it and sit there and eat without actually getting in the trap. So that took care of that. The other thing was, when I ran the string underneath the cage, it was basically flat on the ground. So I took 4 more of these guys and just laid them under the corners, each corner, so that it didn't create any extra resistance. Because, you know, if this cage gets flat on the ground, it's going to kink that string, and it's going to make it really difficult for an animal to pull it. And I didn't want it to be any harder for them, you know, to make sure that the string, you know, they could pull the string. So I did raise it off the ground by the thickness of each one of, you know, these boards sitting under each corner. So I did release the raccoon this morning. He was not harmed. He was very pleased to get out of the cage. He never really got hostile with me. He hissed one time, but I almost couldn't even hear it. But he was happy to be set back out another while. So thanks again for watching the video. If you liked it, you know, like it, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell for notifications, and as we get additional videos, whether it's product reviews or kind of follow-up videos, you'll get notifications. Thanks.